AI is the phrase on everyone's lips. Some see it as a threat, others as a tool. But what happens when we bring AI into care, education, and behavior support? The very places built on human connection. Today on the Able to Care podcast, we're exploring whether AI can help us to become more person-centered or whether it risks stripping the person out of the process altogether. If you are caring for someone else, whether paid or unpaid, and no matter how many hours you do it, did you realise that you may be missing out on thousands of pounds of discounts for things that you may use every day? The Able to Care podcast is proud to be sponsored by the UK's #1 carers card. Started by two best friends who recognise that carers deserve better and are 100% committed to helping to change the lives of all carers and bringing them together as a strong community. Carers Card UK provides support, recognition and rewards. It offers reassurance by providing an ID card that helps access emergency information when needed, while also unlocking discounts, a wellbeing hub, a carers circle tool and a community through their app. All of this for less than the price of a box of chocolates a year. There are discounts on gym membership, days out, electrical goods, clothing and even glasses. Let others know you care while taking a little care of yourself with an ID card you can be proud of. Visit carerscarduk.co.uk/promo code/able to care today to order yours. First off, let's start with the opportunity because there is a big one here. I'm kind of excited about what's happening with AI because AI has a potential to take away some of the paperwork-esque parts of the job of care and education. The endless forms, the repetitive reports, the box ticking that too often pulls people away from genuine human connection. Now, if we get it right, AI could free up teachers, carers, and support workers to focus on the actual person-centered connection and work that I feel truly matters. It could become the quiet assistant in the background, helping us to be more present rather than replacing our presence. So this is something I'm kind of excited about because I think there's an opportunity here to utilize this, not to take jobs away, but to get back to what I feel is really important within the care and the education setting. And that's interaction, connection, engagement, making people feel part of a community. If more effort was put into community building and trust building than the paperwork, the whole system would be better. But AI can help us move from a one-size-fits-all approach to something far more personalized as well. So imagine a tool that, let's say, a teacher could use that instantly adapts a lesson plan or potentially a behavior strategy to meet unique needs of every individual in a classroom. It could adjust the one lesson plan into different reading levels, communication styles, sensory input based on real data, not assumptions. So let me give you an example of this because I felt particularly frustrated by this. There's a girl that's close to me in my world, 15 years old, with a significantly younger reading age that was in mainstream school. But she was being given the same material as everyone else. Now, I've seen this particular girl struggle to read a menu in a restaurant and just pointing at the one thing she could understand and kind of go, I'll just have that. But feeling so self-conscious, so overwhelmed, and her anxiety was building because she was looking at this massive information and just feeling overwhelmed by it. And I think so many of us don't get that can feel really hard. You can feel self-conscious and it's difficult to get out of that anxiety loop to be able to go, hey, I'm struggling with this. Please, can you take me through each of these options one by one so I can choose exactly the meal that I would like? It's sometimes so much easier when you're so used to struggling with that, so used to feeling overwhelmed by it, going, I'll just have that, and shutting down to everything else and struggling to accept in that moment. People just got that. And it really does frustrate me. If people just understood that principle, that somebody's struggling, it isn't easy in an environment when you are told off for not knowing something to raise your hand and say, hey, I don't know something. when the culture is all about shaming those who don't understand, getting people to admit they don't understand shows everybody else what they perceive as a weakness or a vulnerability or a less than. So this girl would often be perceived as just naughty because rather than going, hey, I'm struggling with this, she would just shut down to it, going, oh, it's boring. Oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, it's rubbish. Or she'd just distract other kids because it's much easier to distract other kids and rather than going, I can't do this. This is a problem with growth mindset, fixed mindset, and the way that our entire school system and education system is set up. But what if one way that could help is rather than giving it the same information as everybody else, they used AI to take the same activity, the same workbook or worksheet, and they simplified it down into language that she was able to understand, that she was doing the same as every other classmate, but she was able to then process the information in a way that she could get, that she could interact with. And this is the thing that the frustrating thing for her was it was bits like this were in her EHCP plan, that communication was a barrier, that she struggled to kind of be able to cope with stuff, but it wasn't utilized. And maybe it's because, not because they're bad teachers, because they feel overwhelmed. They don't know how to. You know, it feels difficult to put your mind in the mind of a 6-year-old child, for instance, to go, well, how does a 6-year-old read when you're used to teaching teenagers? That's the beauty of AI. Suddenly, the AI program could do that for them. She could have engaged, she could have understood, and joined in alongside her peers, demonstrating that she was actually learning, growing, improving, building mastery, growing her self-esteem over a period of time, rather than what happened, which is an ever deteriorating self-esteem of how she's not as good as everybody else in the room. That's what technology can do when it's used with care. Like any tool can be used for good or evil. You know, the typewriter has been used to write peace treaties, but also lists of people being sent to concentration camps in Germany. It is not the tool that's bad, it's how it's used that makes it good or bad. So if it's used for inclusion, couldn't that be incredible? It also, AI can reduce biases. AI does have some biases, of course it does, but it can now look at things and it can test against things where we can set certain parameters. We can tell it not to have certain biases towards certain things. So when we're recording information, when we're writing reports, we can take out biased or emotive language. We can write it like, what if this person was going to be reading this back in the future, to make sure it's person-centered in its language, for instance. Human beings, no matter how experienced, we come with biases, emotions, and subjectivity. And AI can analyze from multiple people's experience and perspectives, meaning it takes an awful lot of the subjectivity out and allows it to be more objective. It can look at data patterns in behavior. It can look at care notes. It can look at incident reports without judgment, without a preconceived idea of this is why this person does this or this is why they don't do this. So used wisely, it could help us to see trends that humans might miss. And it could even provide supporting evidence and help with decision making. But, and this is a big but, it's only as good as the people guiding it. It is only part of the journey. I was having a conversation with some friends last night whether AI would ever truly understand human emotions. And I think it is so far off because I don't think humans understand human emotions. And therefore, as we're the ones programming the AI, maybe we'll never get there. I'm ready to be informed and learn from that as I move forward as well. I think it's so important that we keep that human to AI connection. You know, maybe an 80-20 split on everything that we do, whether it be 80% human and then 20% AI, or it's 80% AI with always that human eye cast over it to make sure that we're informing it and we're following it and we're understanding it. So I do see AI as a potentially positive tool, like any other. It can be used for good or bad, and the difference lies in the intent. I think for parents, there can be so many benefits from using AI. A simple thing I did with some families recently is I got them to use AI to break down task lists for their children into individual basic tasks. So they were much more easily able to chunk tasks down. Because sometimes, again, it's like if I asked you to describe how you stand up and break standing up down into tasks, you'd find it quite difficult to do because, well, you just stand up, don't you? So if I asked you to do something like tidy your room, for instance, it may be the same feeling. We just start tidying it. But getting started can sometimes be the hardest part of the task for some individuals with neurodiversity. Some individuals with ADHD just can't overcome that initial, where do I start? It's a room of chaos. I don't know how to make that first step. So suddenly if we could go, okay, let's use an AI bot, and we go, okay, can you break down the tidying a room into small, manageable steps? And suddenly it brings a list of 20 different items that goes, okay, first off, pick all the clothes up off the floor. And it just breaks it down into chunks. This person can then follow their list all the way down. I used it recently for my holiday list, where I was feeling a bit overwhelmed. I was feeling like I had too much to do. I was starting to get a bit too busy brained. So I just asked AI, hey, please can you make me a holiday packing list? I'm only going to be going away for 7 days. I'm going to be going to Norway. The current weather there is da-da-da-da-da. Please create me an appropriate packing list. There's some stuff that I was like, that's not quite for me. But there was a lot of stuff in there that I thought, that's really helpful. And I could go down, tick it off, and either go, no, don't need that, or I could tick it off my list. And suddenly the job was done for me, making my life significantly easier just in that moment. So for helping people with busy brains, for helping families, support children or adults or anybody, maybe we can use it for exactly that. We can use it for idea creation as well. If you're struggling to get a person to engage in activity, let's say in dementia, for instance, but you know some stuff about their history and you're struggling to come up with ideas for it, or maybe you just don't feel like you have time, and utilize AI. This person used to make model boats. Can you create a way that within a care home environment, we can practice this hobby or encourage this with the individual we're supporting to do on their own? And suddenly it'll give you a list of lots of different individual activities that maybe are part of boat building that you wouldn't know, but they might find really enjoyable because it's something like what they used to do. The danger I see is that, like any other, it's a tool, good, bad, and it's all about the intention. The danger is that, yes, AI could be used to cut costs or replace people rather than empower them. The moment AI is used to reduce staffing instead of reducing staffing workload, I feel we've lost sight of the purpose. If care homes are suddenly going, well, it's not taking you as long now to do your paperwork, so we can cut down on one staff member because you're not having to do as much. You are missing the point and you are failing abysmally as an organization. You should be going, brilliant. We've just now freed up a staff member to spend more time making or improving the well-being and psychological well-being of the clients. If you are not able to organize your staff to improve the quality of care, improve staff retention rates, all of that can be used. AI could be used for good or it can be used for bad. If anybody out there is thinking within the care sector, this is just a way we can save money, please sell your care home to somebody else. I want you to look at it as, hey, this is a way we could improve the quality of what we do. This is a way that we could develop our team. We can use it as a training tool. We can use it as an assistant to every staff member to reduce their stress, but allow them to improve the connections they make. So AI can process information, but it can't empathize. It can summarize emotions, but it doesn't feel them. And in care and education, the difference really matters. The warmth of a smile, the pause that shows that someone's listening, the intuition that tells you when something isn't quite right. Those things live only in human connection. And the problem is there is some people starting to turn to AI for exactly that. There are children out there who are having conversations with their AI bots because they don't feel there's anybody else out there that'll listen. And AI will absolutely just listen and pretend to empathize and support them and validate them, sometimes in not positive ways. Doesn't challenge them and stop them from doing things that have been dangerous. There's been some scary stories around that. But why are children having to turn to AI to do it? Because there's far too many adults who are too worried about what they're doing rather than how they are feeling. AI doesn't care what a child's doing. It's just going to listen and answer the questions a child asks. Maybe adults out there could learn from that a little bit. So, how do we make sure AI enhances rather than erodes humanity? For me, there's a few guiding principles. It should support, not replace. It exists to make the human role more effective, not redundant. Humans make the final call. Data can guide, empathy sometimes needs to decide, especially around person-centered roles and organizations. We can use AI for inclusion, but it shouldn't just be used for convenience. Let it help us to communicate better. Let's better adapt materials, make information accessible, not just to make paperwork easier or to skip it out. It should be to improve the information, to analyze it more effectively, to get us to ask the questions of us that we should be asked. So I do think the 80-20 rule, 80% human, 20% technology, is quite a good kind of approach. So in many ways, this isn't really about technology again. It's about mindset. AI can be cold, but it can also be transformative if we use it to remove barriers rather than to build them. There's another example, actually, before I close the podcast, about even Mental Capacity Act being AI being involved in that. The individuals who, when we're deciding whether a person is able to make decisions for themselves, there's a few elements to that. Can they understand the information given? Can they retain the information for long enough to make a decision? Can they weigh the different outcomes in their mind? And can they communicate that information over? They're the 4 criteria that a person requires to be able to make a decision. What if the only barrier is them understanding the information because we don't know how to present an information to them in a way that they can understand? Otherwise, they would be able to make an informed decision themselves. Well, AI might be able to help us to do that. And I think that's special, and it needs further investigation because it allows people to actually have more autonomy in their life and less, which I think is massive. Any framework could be similar to that. So AI can be used to rewrite information, to make more accessibility, to improve comprehension, to improve inclusivity. So is AI a friend or a foe? I'm not 100% sure yet. The truth is, it's neither. It's a mirror reflecting the values of the humans who use it. If we let it, AI can take the admin off our shoulders and maybe put the humanity back to the center of people's work. But if we use it to cut corners, reduce staff, or standardize care, it will do exactly the opposite. AI doesn't replace empathy. It amplifies the space we have to show it. So let's make sure we keep the human heart behind the algorithm. I hope you found that interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you feel about AI within care and within education. I know there's many concerns out there. Some of them are definitely valid, but some of them are missing where there's opportunity and they're only focusing on the negativity.